Hello, Nigel again. I'm putting up this little very short video to discuss paint with the upcoming Junkers Ju88 build, the build along. If you don't know about it, have a look back at the last few videos. It would appear there's some issues, people are having issues with obtaining paint, particularly one of the guys who's going to be building along with us. He's in Canada, and it seems like he's struggling to get hold of paint. Now, we all know as modelers that Tamiya paint is very, very difficult to brush paint with. I know you can add stuff to it, you can mix it with certain thinners and it becomes a lot better, but I think there are better brushing paint you can get out there without going into using solvents and stuff. And I would recommend for brush painting Vallejo Model Air, because you can airbrush with it and you can brush paint with it. Now, there's going to be a million people out there that disagree with me. There are a million paints out there, and everybody has their own opinion, and some people think such and such is rubbish and some people think such and such is awesome. Now, I'm angling this towards this guy in Canada because basically he's very restricted with what he can get. One of the paints he can get is Vallejo. So he contacted the shop, and the shop are having trouble matching the Revell colours to the Vallejo colours, and boy oh boy I can understand why. If you look at some of the charts that are out there, they're absolutely awful, and for beginners or people that aren't really sure about codes and what colours they are, they could really go wrong. Like for instance, if you look at the ICM kit, they recommend for the RLM66, the dark grey interior, they recommend XF84, which in Tamiya is actually dark iron. It's a colour I use for painting tracks. So if you want a metallic grey cockpit, then great, you know, use XF84. I saw on a Revell conversions chart, it looks like it's Revell's own, and they recommend RLM02 as being XF58, which I think is olive green. Well, RLM02 is not olive green. So you need to be very careful. So what I've done, I've gone through the instructions, and above the Revell paint numbers I've written what I think is the equivalent Tamiya or Vallejo colour. Now, as I've said earlier, there are a million experienced modelers out there who are going to disagree with every single word I say. Please don't comment in the bottom to say I'm wrong and I shouldn't be saying this and I shouldn't be saying that, and this colour's not the right shade and that wasn't accurate for a 1942 bomber. What I'm doing is giving equivalent colours, in my opinion, to the Revell colour callouts in the instructions. So if you think that RLM02 in the Vallejo colour is the wrong shade, then fine, but please keep it to yourself. We don't want to get into a big slagging match below in the comments about what colours are right and wrong. I know for a fact that RLM66 in every manufacturer's paint is a different shade, and then if you go and get yourself an Eduard cockpit, it's a different shade again. So who knows what's right or wrong? Basically, we're building a model airplane for a bit of fun. We're going to be doing dry brushing, we're going to be washing, so we're going to be changing the tonality of the paint anyway. So this is my recommendation for beginners who want to use Vallejo paint because it can be brush painted and airbrushed. So let's get to the book and have a look. Okay, so I've got the manual in front of us. Now, before we look at anything in here, I just want to go over the different types of paint that are out there. Now, obviously we've got the Revell aqua colours here, and these come in little square pots. And they're rather unusual. You open the pot and then you've got a little tray down here for dispensing the paint into if you want to. I tend not to use them. They're very thick. If I stirred this up, you'd find it's very thick. They go a very long way, thin with water, so totally healthy and everything, and also very good for brush painting, but they're not very good for airbrushing. I've tried and tried with a few different thinners and water. I must say I'd rather use other manufacturers, to be honest, rather than the Revells for airbrushing, but for brush painting they're amazing, and I'll show you that in the build. We've then got the Model Air colours. This is a Model Air metallic, this is a Model Air non-metallic. Ignore the codes and what the colours are because they don't, most of them don't relate to the model at all. It's just what I've got here. So we've got our Model Air colours, and then we've got the model colour here. Okay, so we can see here we've got model colour. You can see the different labels. The difference is Model Air is thinner, so it's designed to be used straight from the bottle into the airbrush, spray with it. If you do need to thin it, I would suggest using Vallejo airbrush thinner. It thins it beautifully. You have to be careful with Vallejo. Some thinners will turn it into cottage cheese. So I use the Vallejo thinner for Vallejo paint, and I use, for everything else, I pretty much use Mr. Hobby leveling thinners, but that's a chemical and smells. So that's our Model Air and model colour. We've then got the Tamiya paints. Tamiya are great. I've got, I think, every single one they make. They're great for airbrushing. They're okay for spot brushing. The biggest problem with them, they dry so fast on the brush. They call them acrylics. They're not. They're an acrylic based solvent paint, I think, and they're not actually true acrylic paints. They can be thin with water, but they're much better if you thin them with alcohol or Tamiya's own thinner or Mr. Hobby leveling thinners. But yeah, great paint for airbrushing, not ideal for brush painting, and especially if you're going to paint like the camouflage on the wings, forget it, not good at all. And then we've got other manufacturers which I won't bother with. We've got our Mr. Colour, we've got Mr. Hobby, we've got our AK Real Colours, there's AK Paints, there's all these other paints about, but I'm just going to deal with these three, which is Tamiya, Revell, and Model Air and Model Colour, Vallejo if you like. You can always look at references online and find cross-references for different colours. So the easiest thing to do here is go to the page in the instructions where we're looking for the colour callouts. Now obviously Revell manufacture their own paint, so they're going to ask you to use their paints. Of course, it's their company, they're there to make money, they're not going to recommend other people's colours. So we go and look at cross-reference charts. Revell do their own cross-reference charts. Be very, very careful, some of the colours do not agree at all. You also need to be careful of some kit manufacturers. If you have the ICM version of this, it will tell you that the colour for number 77, the Tamiya equivalent, is XF84. XF84 is actually a dark iron. So if we look at this, you can see it's got a metallic fleck in it. So if you want to paint your German Luftwaffe aircraft with a metallic grey colour in the cockpit, then carry on, but I don't think that's advisable. So how does this all work then? Okay, so Revell are recommending their colours, which is, here's number 40. Okay, now I don't have 40, but I've got here we've got anthracite here, so it's 36109. Okay, in this case it would be 36140. So basically, if we look at the end of the instructions, it says back here that A, which they're calling number 40, they're calling A is RLM70. RLM70 is a German colour, as are all these colours here, but these are the three common colours for aircraft in the early part, I believe, of World War II. They also brought in some purpley grey colours and all that towards the end. But RLM 65, 70 and 71 are the three common colours you'll see on your Stukas and 88s and everything. So you could go to any paint manufacturer and they will give you a paint that matches 70, 71 and 65. I've gone with Vallejo, as I say, because the guy who's asked me to do this is in Canada. He has access to Vallejo paints. If you see a 71 at the front, as I showed you earlier, that is a Model Air. If you see a 70 in the front, that's a model colour. Okay, so here you can see the numbers. What I'll do is I'll zoom you in, and then you can take screenshots. Right, I shall zoom you back out a bit. There we go. So we've got, these are the colours I'm recommending for the cross-referencing on the Revell. Now the XF colour you see there, this is a Tamiya colour. So if you're airbrushing, you could get them, but if you're brush painting, I'd avoid them. Get the Vallejo instead, and you can get the Vallejo model air and brush paint it as well as you can the model colour. If you want to get the model colour and airbrush it, you'll need to thin it. And the model air, to be fair, sometimes needs thinning as well. Okay, you can see I've also made some corrections because even Revell, I looked at their cross-referencing and they referenced a different paint. Well, you can see that I is RLM25. RLM25 is not the colour they recommended. It's 71267. Okay. There we go. And I'm going to come back to that black colour in a minute. And then we go over the page. And you'll see these two here. Let's bring you out a bit. Sorry, in. These two here, I've put a star by them. If you're on a budget, probably don't bother getting them because this is leather brown and it's just used on one of the headrests. And this, as far as I can see, this brown mat is just used on a handle for a lever in the cockpit. So another thing is, at the back here, you've got your two versions. If you're building the Revell kit, you've got this one here, which is Edelweiss, and this one here, which is Hindenburg. This colour here, this blue colour, is only for the spinners on Hindenburg. So if you're not going to build Hindenburg, then you don't need that. And if you're not going to build Edelweiss, you don't need that. Okay, so you'll need the yellow on both of them, but you won't need the green for this one, and you won't need the blue for that one. Okay, so let's have a look at this with this black. This one's a little bit confusing, and I don't want to lose you here. At number 9 in Revell is this one, is anthracite, and it is a very dark grey. Now if you look at the Revell cross-reference, I noticed that somebody cross-referenced it as being a match for 71057. 71057 is actually black. Now anthracite is not black. Anthracite is a very dark grey colour. You'll see with your model colours, you'll get black. Like down here you've got 302, so you'll get 71057, which is a matte black. Then you'll get a rubber black or a tyre black, which Revell do tyre black and so do Mr. Hobby, which is a slightly lighter colour. Okay, and then you'll get your stuff like here, which is anthracite, which is lighter again. And what Revell recommend is XF63 as being an equivalent for that colour. This is XF63. I don't think it is equivalent. If you look inside, you can see that it's lighter. Okay, but I've seen World War II model aircraft with their tyres painted in this colour. So I've got paint on there now. So what I would recommend you do, if you don't have this one or you can't get it, okay, get this one. Get the 71052 or the 7862, which I've got here. Okay, and you can use that for tyres. You've also got this colour here, which is 302, which you can see is X18. It's a semi-gloss black. It's not totally matte. Now this is used on the wheels, and I'm not convinced that the wheels on a World War II bomber would have been semi-gloss black for very long. They probably would have gone dull pretty quickly. So what you could do to cover these two colours in one, get the 71057, you could use that for your wheels, put a spot of white in it, and you can use that for your tyres. Okay, the other thing you could do, you've got this colour here, you could put a spot of black in that and use that for your tyres. Alright, so I hope I haven't lost anyone there. If money's no object, get these colours here, 71052 or 7862, and get 7994. If you're on a budget, you don't need to get that one, just get that one and that one, or that one, and you'll have the white anyway. You'll need this one for your cockpit, or you can just get an ordinary black that you can use again and again and again. Okay, so I hope I haven't lost anyone there, and I hope it's all pretty straightforward. If you just, as I say, if you just do your screen print and stuff, you'll have the reference numbers there, and you can go to your supplier and they'll supply you with the relevant colours that you need. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.